As we start every meeting, we're going to start with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask CJ to lead us in prayer and the secretary to say the pledge, please.
Our heads, dear Lord, thank you for this time. Lord, thank you for fellowship. Thank you for this beautiful day we've had. Lord, please be with everyone, keep them safe. And Lord, please be with us tonight as we make decisions for our city. In your son's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Suzanne, would you please call the roll?
Chair Harris,
Here.
Vice Chair Morrell,
Here.
Mr. Pereira,
Here.
Mayor Brown,
Present.
Councilwoman George,
Here.
Mr. Strouder, Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Does the secretary have minutes for the January 8th, 2024 meeting?
Yes, Chairman, I have the minutes from January 8th and the January 22nd meetings. I move that the minutes be approved as written.
Second.
All right, a motion from secretary to approve the minutes, second by Eileen. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes are approved unanimously. At this point in the meeting, we'll have public comment on agenda-related items. If you're here this evening and you wish to come make any comments on the agenda this evening, please come forward, state your name, and you'll have 5 minutes to make some comments. All right, seeing no one jumping out of their seats to comment this evening, we'll call public comment closed. And with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 5 on this evening's agenda. Hear a motion for approval of the consent
Motion
agenda.
to approve.
I have a motion by CJ, second by John, to approve the consent agenda as it is. Without any discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, consent agenda passes unanimously. That's going to move us on to our regular agenda this evening. Just going to start us off with item 6, which is resolution number 2024-22, Cumberland Mental Health Building Addition.
Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner and applicant requests approval of a revised final master development plan for Cumberland Mental Health Building addition on a 1.15 acre parcel zoned MRO, multiple residential and office district located west of East Main Street and north of Hartsville Pike at 510 East Main Street. The owner and applicant propose a 2,160 square foot commercial addition to the rear of the existing structure. There. All proposed activities shall be consistent with the MRO, multiple residential and office zone district requirements. Medical service is a permitted use in the MRO zone district. The planning department recommends approval of GMCC resolution number 2024-022 with 3 conditions.
All right, thanks, Jim. Do we have a representative for the applicant with us this evening? All right, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Greg Stamps. I'm the architect with Stamps Design Group representing Volunteer Behavioral Health.
Thanks. Do you have anything to add to what Jim had to say?
Oh, it's pretty simple.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. The conditions were very minimal, just administrative things. So I don't personally see any issues with it.
Likewise.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve it with staff's, I think it was 3 conditions, if someone wants to make a motion.
Second.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve with staff's 3 conditions.
Oh, second that.
Okay, a second by Mike. All right. So motion to approve with the conditions of approval. Any further discussion? Well, that would call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7 on our agenda this evening is resolution number 2024-015, Woods Ferry right-of-way abandonment vacation.
The owner of an adjacent property and applicant requests the city of Gallatin to abandon a 25-foot wide portion of public right-of-way totaling .24 acres located west of South Water Avenue and north of State Route 109. The planning department recommends denial of resolution number 2024-015.
Thanks, Jim. Do you have a representative for the applicant here this evening?
Good afternoon. Brian Hamilton with Nashville Civil. And I've worked with the owner on a number of properties. I just wanted to point out that the neighboring parcel to the west, northwest, I guess, it would be Windsong. And they have gotten their 25 feet, but their 25 feet is encumbered by utilities. And the 25 feet that we're requesting has no utilities. So it seemed like ours would be the easier one to abandon, I guess. That was, I don't know the exact date, but it was within, I think they did that by plat, maybe, requested that right away. But I have a colleague here that was going to talk about it. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time. Does anybody else have any questions for this gentleman?
So I guess the question to engineering, did we verify that utilities aren't there? Because it was my understanding at the work session that utilities were within the right-of-way.
So they're not on our 25 feet of the right-of-way. They're on the neighboring, actually now it's just a portion
Yeah.
of the Jonathan's
Yeah,
restaurant parcel.
but yeah, question to Aaron.
I know that the overhead electric, looking at the survey earlier, is on the Jonathan's side. I don't know about the other ones. I did not verify
And
that.
I'm not sure if you can zoom in or who has that. So those dashed lines that are off of the 25 feet, those are showing, I think there's a gas and there were two.
Okay.
It's like the one on the left is water, maybe.
Sean would like to speak as well.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name's Sean Henry, 500 11th Avenue North, Nashville. I'm with the law firm Tuner & White. I represent the property owner. There's no issue with those utilities. Happy to retain those easements with the abandonment of the right-of-way, so not an issue retaining existing utility easements. The engineering divisions are recommending against this because it will create an adverse effect upon site access. But that adverse effect has not been demonstrated. The issue is there's public right-of-way there. Half of that public right-of-way has already been abandoned by the city council. It's benefited the Jonathan's development next door. And you may know where this is. It's a patch of woods right there at the northwest corner of that intersection. So the question is, what public interest, what public purpose is the city going to use this strip for? You know, oftentimes when right-of-way is abandoned, maybe it gets converted to rails to trails or a sidewalk or, you know, a greenway trail or some public purpose. So unless there's a public purpose, and you're the planning commission, and so what the city council is looking from you for is how would the city long-term use this right-of-way? For what purpose? What public purpose? If there's no public purpose in retaining that right-of-way, if it's not going to be used by the city, it should be abandoned and given back to the fee simple owner. That's exactly what's already been done on one half of it. My client's just asking for the remainder of that half right-of-way to be treated the same way. So that's the simple issue. Happy to answer any questions.
Does staff agree with that?
So our recommendation against this has always been about a concern for safety. While the abandonment and access to South Water are two separate issues, adding more acreage to this existing lot gives the opportunity for a developer to ask for an unsafe driveway location on South Water that, due to its proximity to 109, would create an unsafe condition.
You grant the easement, I mean, can you give that easement without the access? Or would it automatically allow for that?
The right-of-way could be abandoned without the access, but, you know, more property gives them more opportunity to come in with an unsafe connection to South Water.
I'm just
Not if you don't allow it, right?
That's correct. That's something that,
Or is that a TDOT determination?
That would be a TDOT determination.
that's correct. Based off of the deed that TDOT had provided, the access to this property was, the loss for access was compensated back when the warranty deed came
So
through.
then it shouldn't be.
I guess that'd be my question, going through the staff report for the things, is the warranty deed that was recorded back in 1989, references in that, you know, the above described property is hereby conveyed in fee simple, and all right of egress and egress to and from across the same into the abutting land is hereby conveyed, et cetera, et cetera. So it seems like, you know, when this deed was recorded in 1989, the access, it didn't come with the access to the road. I'm not an attorney, but that's the way I would read that, so.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we're not here for access. There's no site plan in front of you asking for you to approve access. The question on the table is, does that strip, that one-half strip of former public right-of-way, formerly used for public travel, you know, Water Street, is that strip appropriate for public use? It's that simple question. We're not here to talk about access. We're not trying to get access in front of this body right now. That's not a question.
Should the public use not be determined as public safety? I mean, I'm trying to think through the different perspectives and how the land could be used without access. And so while you're saying you're not asking for access, it seems like you would have to have access. But I don't know. I mean, I think you guys have felt really strongly about this, and we tend to defer to what the experts in the room think. Ms.
Mr. Breed.
Alexander, I'm sorry.
Latasha Alexander, Assistant City Attorney. I spent a lot of time today just kind of looking at this. Please give me your name again, sir.
Sean Henry.
Mr. Henry expressed that your only concern should be about what the public use is. I can't disagree with that, but I can't agree with him that we don't have a public purpose for this. As Aaron said, and as what I think has been expressed, is our public purpose is to keep our citizens safe. So that's a public purpose.
I was right in the way I was thinking.
That's my opinion. And part of that is to look at the potential use of this right-of-way should we abandon it. So at our previous work session, there was a lot of, there were statements made about we are obligated to abandon this property because it's a landlocked property. But as Mr. Harris, Chairman Harris expressed, if you look at the warranty deed, there was a express intent by the previous owners to not have ingress or egress to this property, which made it landlocked and made it useless. I mean, that was the intent of the agreement when they conveyed it to, and got paid for it. So we have to look at that. Because normally there's a presumption that when there is a landlocked property, there's a presumption that there will be an easement that will allow ingress or egress. But we can't take that presumption on this one because they intended within that deed to give it away, to sell it. So we've said from the beginning, the public purpose is to make sure that our citizens are safe and their welfare. That is our public purpose in this situation. So,
Well, my question is that, say we grant the abandonment, the right-of-way to be carried over to the property, they still have the deed that states that they still don't have access. That would run with the property, would it not?
yes, I agree.
So,
I guess
Yeah, even if we-
it runs with the property, but again, and this, I mean, I don't think this body really has to involve themselves with it, but at the end of the day, I'm standing on the fact that the public purpose is the safety of our citizens. So that's what I would hang my hat on regarding your decision on this one. That's what our public purpose would be, but it's up to this body to determine whether they feel it's a good public purpose to abandon this roadway to the applicant that's asking for it.
I mean, this item will be acted upon by council, and we're a recommending body to council. And as I understand, the role of the planning commission is to make recommendations on what makes for good planning. And there's no way I could vote to recommend the abandonment of the right-of-way as a measure of good planning. So to me, it's very simple that we should recommend denial of it and let council decide whether there's an issue of whether it has to be equitable abandonment of right-of-way like it was done on the west side. That's not our issue.
Question?
The purpose of the right-of-way differs between the two property owners. Mr. Hickson, I feel like there is, in our past several years, a situation very, very similar to this, where there was not access, where we did not give them the easement because, like this, we were concerned that it would create a situation that we would then have to navigate that wasn't going to benefit our city. But I can't for life. I also remember one where we did years ago, we had given part of an easement to one property owner, and then we came back and gave the other. But that was like between two residential properties, and it didn't matter. But there was one similar to this that we denied. I can't remember. Do you?
I do remember one within the past year, I think, that was requesting access onto 109, and we didn't give it to them because they didn't have easements from the adjacent property owners to utilize existing accesses that were already there.
Yeah, it
But
was
that
the market.
different.
Convenience
It's the
store.
market by Nichols Lane.
Yeah.
I mean, we do want to treat property owners fairly, and we do want to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, if this is for access and we are not going to grant access, then it's just creating a problem for everybody. Setting an unrealistic expectation for the property owner, and then it's creating a difficulty when that is asked for.
Mr. Dixon, where does the sidewalk continue up South Water in front of this property, or does it stop when it turns the corner at 109? Do you know off the top of your head,
I think it stops around that radius.
around the radius? Okay. So,
That radius.
okay.
You talking about the one along South Water?
Yeah, 'cause you can see there, it's just got the little radius piece of it. So, I mean, for that matter, if we're talking about safety, I mean, I could conceive a potential conversation in the future that it was safer to have a sidewalk that went down the old right-of-way and not down along South Water, potentially. But, if we're looking for something that it could potentially be used for at some point in the future. But, again, as Mr. Pereira said, our job is to make recommendations. It's ultimately up to the city council to make the decision what to do with it, so.
Perhaps if there were a site plan that had an interior access only to it, that would make a difference.
I mean, it would help provide context.
Well, again, our job is to send a recommendation to the city council. They're ultimately going to decide it. We've heard some different opinions. Does anyone have a motion they were prepared to make? Well, all right, well, I'll make a motion. I'll agree with the staff's opinion to recommend denial to the city council to abandon the right-of-way.
I second that.
So, all right, we got a motion, we got a second to send to city council with a negative recommendation for the right-of-way. Any further discussion on the item?
I would just say, that I think there could be an opportunity for the council to feel differently if something came to them differently than what we have currently.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's that the city necessarily is dying to hold on to this right away, but we don't want to jeopardize and create a situation that's unsafe for citizens.
I agree. If, our job is to make a recommendation, as John said, it's about, what we think is good long-term planning, and based on what we know about the property at this point, I would tend to say we would deny it, and without further information on how it might be used in the future, but that'd be my opinion. So, all right, any further discussion before I call for a vote? All right,
Clarify the vote. If you vote yes, you're recommending denial.
yes, that's correct. Yeah, yes vote would be to recommend denial.
So we asked the representative if this discussion makes you think of a different approach that you would rather us.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the thoughtful consideration. I mean, one thought is this is public right-of-way. It could become a public street in order to get into this property. So there's a piece of that right-of-way that could be improved and made part of the access, so that we're not using directly 109 or that frontage, on Waters Avenue. So I think what we ought to do is have our engineer team look at a site plan that incorporates that right-of-way and addresses the issue of access and concern that the engineers have, and try to move that access as far away from that intersection as possible, which may very well include this strip that we're talking about.
And I don't think we want access to 109 at all, or water. I mean,
Yeah, however.
we want interior
Has-
access.
Yeah,
Has there been any coordination with TDOT at all?
But if you don't mind, one second, if we're going to go back to that, make a motion to suspend the rules, we're going to have a
I'm
conversation.
so sorry.
It's okay. All right, motion to suspend the rules, second by CJ. So
Interrupt.
all in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Aye.
go ahead, just trying to,
To answer that question, I'm not aware of conversations with TDOT. I'm not aware of that.
to the point, I think it would go a long way to understand the desired use of the property and how the access would work to make sure that it's good.
Right.
So, and I think that would help a lot with the city council discussion on it.
Well, and my thought was, in asking that question, is if there is some opportunity for them to come back with a plan that doesn't include direct access, but interior access, then I would consider deferring that.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, I was just going to.
Would you have a desire to defer?
Yeah, I think we would, yes, sir. I think we'd like to defer so that we can more fully bake the idea on paper, so that you all can look at the full picture and see if it makes sense to keep this. You may end up recommending we keep some of it, we keep none of it, we keep all of it. And so we ought to really try to engineer that and see how that turns out.
Can I comment?
Freer has
Yeah,
some very
please, sir.
wise counsel. I can see it.
I just want to point out, though, that the question here is the abandonment of the right-of-way. It's not connected to any site plan. We have no idea what's going to be built there. If we abandon the right-of-way, then
Done.
later, a different site plan can come back. And as I understood the applicant, they're going to they have the right to do this, but they're going to pursue with TDOT getting the access because they believe they have a vested right to the access on 109. So if you abandon the right-of-way with the promise that there won't be an access to 109, I don't know how you enforce that long-term.
I don't know either, unless the abandonment is contingent,
In my experience, it would be extremely difficult to get TDOT's approval for access on the south side of this property to 109.
Well, I think what the mayor's comment was that a better understanding of what's intended or what's possible would help the conversation.
Certainly.
The applicants indicated they would defer it. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to reinstate the rules.
Second?
All right, motion second to reinstate the rules. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, with the rules reinstated, so do you
Motion to defer.
did you make this?
We already have a motion on the floor.
Who had the second?
Oh,
Did you make the second on the motion? John did.
I did.
Yeah,
John
would you
did.
like to rescind your second on my motion?
Oh, they're going to request deferral?
Yes.
Sure.
John, I see where you're coming from.
No, I don't rescind my second.
Okay. That's,
So we had a motion and a second,
we had a motion second.
then there was a move to defer, which,
No,
I technically can't make that motion.
he can't make a
because
move.
there's already a motion on
We
the
have
table.
motion and second on
I
the
see,
floor.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Pereira has indicated he's not willing to remove his second. So with the motion properly seconded on the floor, we need to vote on it. So, and all I would say is, if the motion passes to recommend the negative, recommendation of the council, there's still the same opportunity to bring it to the city council with more information of what they might intend to do with it, and that might help them there. So,
Technically still have the option to bring it back here.
yeah, and they could bring it back here. So,
Wait a minute. That's a difficult one, but I feel like y'all are wanting to give them a chance to apply something, and I'm standing in your way. So I will rescind my second, but somebody's going to have to rescind their motion. I agree with that. And if it's not rescinded, then somebody else needs to second, right?
somebody else would have to second it. So, but I'm inclined to give an opportunity to explain more of what the intent is before we move forward. So I'll rescind my motion. And then my understanding is the applicant would like to request a deferral?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
okay.
One meeting deferral should do it, I hope.
Okay. Well,
Motion to defer till next meeting.
so do we have to vote on it? We don't have to vote on a deferral for his.
They asked for.
Oh, if they ask for it, we don't have to?
Yeah, we don't, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we don't. Okay, well, the item's been deferred to the next work session.
Thank you.
All right, thank
for your
you.
consideration. Appreciate it.
Question. Do you think you'll have something by the work session for next month?
No, the work session will be March 4th, and then the voting meeting is the 25th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to other business. Is there any other business anyone needs to bring before us this evening? All right. I don't see any other business. Any announcements?
I can give you just an update on the zoning
be great.
ordinance rewrite. So we've had 2 meetings now with the consultants, and, work's basically underway. We're just kind of going through our early stages of process. It's looking like we'll likely have a big charrette process probably around the month of July. So just kind of be looking at your calendars for, when you might be able to participate in that. It'll be a 4 or 5 day process, so that would hopefully give people some flexibility as to if they can't come on one day, they might be able to come on another day. But so far, so good. We're moving forward with that. Next step in the process really is to kind of meet with department heads, and we've sent out just a calendar check to see when we can do that, and it should be sometime middle of next month when we do that. Department heads and a few outside organizations such as the airport, which Matt, I sent that to you. Other agencies and things like that. So other than that, things are looking good with that. And as you noticed, we don't have Jillian today, so she may officially be on maternity leave. We're not sure yet. She ended up getting
Thought
sick.
she will be by Wednesday, right?
She ended up getting a little sick, and so that might just be starting now instead of later, but we'll see. Anyway, so we'll keep you posted on that.
Since this is a short meeting, if I may, I just wanted to relay to you all, some of you probably, most of you may know, but some of you may not. We have been tracking the legislation at the state that could have impacts on municipalities. Still out there is the urban growth boundary removal and the approval of annexations by the counties for any city that wants to annex. Not very difficult if you ask me. And then some other things that are happening as well. Also, I think it'd be good for this body to be aware that last week at the Planning Commission of the county, they apparently did pass legislation that would allow a minimum of 5 acres for development within the county. Again.
Outside the growth boundary? It's outside the growth boundary?
Outside the urban growth boundary, but see, that happened at the
Yeah.
same time that the state legislation is being pushed that would do away with urban growth boundaries. So basically, it would take everything outside the city limits to be a 5-acre tract. I feel strongly that that's not good development. I mean, you take a 300-acre farm, ideally, you put the development on 50 acres and preserve 250 instead of, putting 250-acre home. That's
Yeah.
what, 50 houses? Spread out, and a whole lot of road to take care of, and a whole lot of infrastructure to take care of.
Do they explain why they want to do this? I mean, because it'll stop.
I think that's I think the feeling is that preserves the rural character.
Who can afford 5-acre lots?
Well, and we're concerned, I'm concerned from a housing affordability, but I really am concerned from a land preservation standpoint, because I believe that you concentrate your development and have the rest of, we've heard in the last couple of weeks about several developers putting, one developer putting several properties in conservation easements. Well, that, they can do that because they can concentrate development other places. And if you can't do that, and what happens to the person that, only wants to sell off a few acres here and there to sustain whatever they're doing with their land, or as their retirement income, or, so that's going on.
And is it one home per 5 acres?
Yes.
That's what they're trying to do.
And I think they said they would allow some variances to be approved by that body. I think one of the questions have been asked, well, what if I want my child to have a house on the property where I have a house? And they said, well, we could grant a variance for that, but there's no right to that.
I believe there's language in there that states that you can be allowed to do a 100,000 square foot lot, which is 2.5 acres, if you have utilities available. But normally that would only occur within the growth
around-
boundary,
Yeah, right around your cities.
which they're retaining rural residential, which is 1-acre lots within the growth boundary, if the growth boundary remains. That's my understanding.
But I also see that increasing pressure on the cities.
Very much so.
affordable housing will have to be within the cities. Right now, we see a lot of the affordable housing options outside of the cities where they're building these neighborhoods out in the county. I don't know what all of the answers are. I just know that there's a lot of demand for housing in this area. And the data shows that we're way behind, and I don't think this is an effort that's going to help our smart growth approach.
Thanks for that update. We'll keep an eye on it. So, all right, with that, we got one item left on the agenda. Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to all those in favor of adjourn